All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about the components of an essay today, and we're going to talk about body paragraphs. Now, we're going to go over this in class tomorrow, but this is just a little review as you are writing your essay. If you're at home writing your essay, you can kind of review this in case you need some help on how to write some of these body paragraphs. It's very easy. Each body paragraph is going to contain like 4 parts to it. And the first part of the body paragraph is going to be your topic sentence, which is going to be in red. The second part is going to be your concrete detail or details, which is going to be in orange in this presentation. Obviously in yours, you don't have to color these, but I do it here just so you guys can see it a little bit more easily. Then you're going to be having your supporting details and a concluding sentence. Now, the concrete details and the supporting details, the second and third part, these can be multiple sentences. These may be a sentence or they may be 2 sentences, or maybe even a little bit more. Here's the example paragraph that we have. The gangs and the outsiders are different from real life gangs. For example, in The Outsiders, the greasers do not have any sort of a leader. Ponyboy looks at the participants in the rumble and notices that, quote, "We were just buddies who stuck together. Each man was his own leader. Maybe that's why we could whip them." Hinton 264. Not having a leader is different than the way many real-life gangs are organized. So, each of these paragraphs, the body paragraphs, paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, should have these 4 parts. So let's go over them part by part. First one is the topic sentence. Now, the topic sentence is the main idea of your paragraph. It just gives you the topic. It tells me what is the paragraph going to be about. The gangs and the outsiders are different from real life gangs. Well, I know immediately that the topic is just how the greasers are different than real life gangs. So that's the first sentence in your paragraph. The second sentence, and again, this could be the second and third sentence maybe, is a concrete detail. Here you're going to give me something very specific to support the topic sentence. For example, here it's, in The Outsiders, the greasers do not have any sort of a leader. That's a very specific detail that we took off of our brainstorm and used that here as our concrete detail. Here the specific detail is how the greasers do not have a leader, which makes them different. Next we have our supporting details. This is actually going to support our concrete detail. This sentence cites a specific detail in the form of a quote. So if you use a quote here, it's a lot better. And you should have at least one quote in each of your body paragraphs. Ponyboy notices that the participants in the rumble and notices that, quote, "We were just buddies who stuck together. Each man was his own leader. Maybe that was why we could whip them." Now, when you have your quotes, you want to make sure that you put the author, the last name, in this case it's Essie Hinton, so I would put her last name, Hinton, and then a page number with the quote, if you're quoting from a book like The Outsiders. Now, here's what you don't want to do when you're using quotes in your essay. Don't just put a quote in the middle of your paper. For example, here's the quote that we actually used. I'm not going to drop this right in the middle of my paper because otherwise it's really not going to make sense. I want to explain it with at least a phrase or maybe a clause right in front of it. Here's the example that you want to introduce it with. Ponyboy looks at the participants in the rumble and notices that. I want to make sure that for each quote, I kind of give a little bit of explanation to talk about what's going on. Here, I'm telling you that Ponyboy is looking at the people in the rumble, and that's where he realizes that the greasers didn't really have a leader. Finally, in your essay, you want to make sure that you have a concluding sentence. It's kind of like your topic sentence, but it's at the bottom and it just wraps everything up. Okay, not having a leader is different than the way many real-life gangs are organized. Here I kind of state my topic again, but I just state it in a different way. So again, in your essay, you should have all 4 of those parts. In red, I've got my topic sentence. In orange, I've got my concrete or specific detail. In yellow, I've got my supporting details. That's where I'm going to put my quote. And then in green, I'm going to have my concluding detail. Again, you can have more than one sentence for each of these parts. Like if you notice in my yellow section right here, I actually have multiple sentences. That's totally fine, but you want to make sure that you have all 4 of these parts in your body paragraphs.